All right, welcome to the show. We are going to be admittedly taking a tour today through some really depressing and horrible realities about what's going on in the country in terms of the fragmentation or balkanization, as we might call it, of the American right wing. There's going to be a lot of really horrible and negative things we talk about, but I think it's important, number one, not to lose sight of the bigger picture, and number two, to also be a little bit less depressed, to start with what is actually some good news, not only about the pandemic, which I'll get to in a moment, but about the direction of the country and the majority of the country understanding that this change that took place between the last administration and the current one, it's not trivial. It's not irrelevant. It's really having an impact on people. We have new data from an NBC News poll that shows that the percentage of Americans who say the country is generally speaking going in the right direction has just about doubled since Donald Trump left office in January. The day after Joe Biden was inaugurated, so January 21st, only 20% of the country believed that the United States was, quote, headed in the right direction, which is often the way this question is asked in polling. But that share has improved to 40% among adults during the period April 17 to 20. And it's actually a crazy reality where we say, hey, 40% of the country, just more than a third, 40% of the country now thinks we are going in the right direction. And this is a massive increase, and we should see that as a really good thing. I understand that that's a depressing and incredibly low bar. But understand that, first of all, if you thought the country was going in the right direction under Donald Trump, your disconnect from the real world is so significant that it's not that reasonable to think all of those people are going to have some awakening once just a normal person takes control of the Oval Office. And the sadder reality is that that perspective, that the right direction was the one under Donald Trump, remains the case for tens of millions of Americans, and that's not going to change anytime soon. So when we look at these numbers, if you showed these numbers to people from many other countries, and you said, listen, we had arguably the most destructive and unhinged president in the modern political era, and at that time, 20% of the country thought we were going in the right direction. We removed him. His party lost the House in 2018. His party lost the Senate in 2020 as well. We have someone who now has built one of the best vaccination distribution programs in the world in Joe Biden, who passed COVID stimulus and is on the path to doing some other things. We're doing great now. Oh, and we still only have 40% of the country believing that we are now going in the right direction. Other countries would look at that and they would, I don't know if they would laugh or cry or feel pity or be scared or whatever the case may be, but it certainly wouldn't make a lot of sense. So there is no question that there's a long way to go. There's no question that the hyper-partisanship that we're experiencing is going to create, I mean, listen, I don't think in modern American political space, you would ever have 80% of the country say we are now going in the right direction for partisan reasons, for tribal reasons, etc. Let's take some solace, because there's a lot of really bad stuff we're going to be going over today, and I'm warning you about that, in the fact that it has doubled. And then the continued good news as far as the pandemic goes, the continued improving jobs numbers and stock market numbers and remaining low inflation over the next 6 to 8 months, hopefully will increase those numbers even further. Now, from the standpoint of just understanding the Trumpist perspective on this question, were we going in the right direction then? Are we going in the right direction now? Trump supporters seem unable to just accept the reality that Trump was historically unpopular. Trump never hit 50% approval. He left with 29% approval. And Joe Biden is relatively popular given the polarized nature of the country. Mid to high 50s approval for a president in the modern political era dating back to, the George W. Bush era. It's significant in that it's not that common. Trumpists live by anecdote. I don't know. I went to a Trump rally and everybody there had a Trump flag. And also when I look on Twitter, Joe Biden doesn't get that many retweets on Twitter. Their anecdotal experience, plus watching what Newsmax and Fox News tell them, tells them it can't possibly be true that the country is now more optimistic, that Biden has higher approval than Trump. Trump losing in 2020 was proof of how bad of a candidate he was. He was gifted a crisis that, for many other world leaders, proper handling of the pandemic easily escorted them to a just completely runaway reelection. Trump had the incumbency advantage. He had voter suppression on his side, and he still managed to lose. People point to, look at how many votes Trump was able to get. But they don't seem to realize the number of people that were alienated by Trump and horrified by Trump led to record votes for Joe Biden as well. And only half of that story seems to be what they focus on. This is a number, 20% to 40% going in the right direction, that if it continues is a good sign. If you ever feel like you just don't have enough time to read all the books you want to read, you have to check out one of my favorite apps called Blinkist. Blinkist takes thousands of popular nonfiction books and distills each one down into an ebook or audiobook that you can get through in just 15 minutes, where you're getting all the key takeaways from the book. Just imagine how you'll be able to expand your horizons and knowledge by being able to soak up all of the important insights from 10 different books in an afternoon. Obviously, it's perfect for exposing yourself to a new book you otherwise wouldn't have time for, or you can use it to revisit a book you've already read, or use it to preview a book before you buy the full version and read it. I recently read A Brief History of Time, of course, by the great Stephen Hawking. This is a book that I have been aware of for so long, and other things got in the way, and it was fantastic to check it out on Blinkist. Blinkist has books on politics, philosophy, science. They have 27 different nonfiction categories, and a subscription is only about $8 a month, and you get the entire library. But you can try it totally free and get 25% off a subscription when you go to Blinkist.com/Pakman. I've put the link right underneath this video.